First of all, thank you so much. I saw a pack hall in the morning, although I guess we are closer to the lunch, so people are interested more going there. I'll try to keep this short, and I'll try to keep this interesting. The session, what I wanted to do today is to talk about future of EdTech. I know that there was already a session on EdTech. I'll not bore you out with this. Fundamentally, what I tried to do is, I tried to talk more about trends here, because a lot of people here are entrepreneurs. You want to know what is that right idea to invest in next, and figure out if there are some learnings from it. So before UPGRAD, I used to work with Byju's, was part of the initial scaling years. Moved out in 2020. I've used some of my experience to speak about what happened in EdTech, what is the situation currently like, and what do I see coming up next. So this is sort of a understanding on what the EdTech story was so far. The EdTech as a segment became popular in the years 2014 to 15, and the popularity came in because investment started coming into few companies at that time. When you say in 2014-15, EdTech meant K-12. There were companies focused on helping students do online education in the first standard to 12th standard segment, and they were the people who took out all the funding. So you had people like Byju's, Unacademy, Topper, Vedantu, etc. On the back of the funding which these organizations got, you saw that in 2016, 17, 18, these organizations went through big growth. The growth numbers which you saw at that time, very impressive ones, were mostly fueled by sales and marketing push. Of course, there was a good product, but the product had to be driven hard, and it was a huge growth which saw there. The first part of growth, when EdTech became very famous, was driven by this organization called as Byju's. They went through huge growth in the initial first years. And this changed a lot in 2020 when COVID struck. So when COVID struck, the typical narrative outside was that with the schools closing down, now EdTech is the only way to learn in India. A lot of companies rode that narrative. See, frankly, as someone who was in the industry, what had happened at that time is there was a huge growth in traffic. So there were more and more kids, both from K-12 segment and from the higher education segment, who were going in and trying these EdTech programs online because they wanted to know what is happening out here. But not all companies were actually able to convert this traffic into revenue. In K-12 also, only companies which were natively online, and I'm talking about companies like Unacademy, Vedantu, who were able to convert it out. Byju's actually lost this opportunity because they had a large offline play to it, because they used to burn things in a tablet and send it out, and that never worked, and even the sales team used to work in a very offline manner. This was also the time when a sub-segment of EdTech called as higher ed started becoming famous. Till that time, higher ed was not famous. Indian EdTech was all about K-12. It is in 2020 that this segment started going through a huge growth. And the reasoning was simple. The reasoning was that the working professionals were at home. They had a lot of time, they had a lot of money, and they were thinking about what should I do next to keep myself relevant in the industry. So we saw higher education going up, there also you saw multiple startups coming in. Now today, what we are seeing, post-COVID world, we are seeing EdTech in some bit of troubles. We are seeing that K-12 is in a little bit of soup today. We need to see what will happen out of that. While we are seeing that higher ed also do have some headwinds which is slowing it down, but largely it is sustaining. So this is sort of a quick understanding of the startup. Now let's see what is happening today, right, before talking about the future and so on. So this is a snapshot from an article which NTracker had sourced out, right? So you can see that EdTech funding, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs here also want tips on funding. So this is a good way to see funding is a good way of a reflection on how interesting the sector is for the investors. It doesn't mean anything else. So 2020, you could see huge amount of funding coming to companies, largely focused on few companies which are at the top. 2021, also this funding continued. And 2022, suddenly you see a big dip in it. Even the numbers you see, 2022, the 800 million in Byju's, this money never came. It was just told that this will come. It never came. The Eruditus 350 million is debt. It was never investment funding again. So what I'm trying to say is 2020 suddenly became a questionable year for K-12 as such. And this is a reflection of what is happening. And of course, when you build businesses which are not sustainable and the investor money stops coming, what happens? You'll have to cut cost. And that's what we saw in most of the edtech companies in 2022. I'm not trying to be a doomsday here, but honestly speaking, I'm just telling you what really happened. Now let's take a step back and understand why did this happen. See, there was a lot of money in edtech from 2014 to 2021, and the companies went down a large expansion because, of course, why do you take capital? You need to expand, you need to invest on it. And hence, I want to take you through a view, right? This is more like an investor view or an analyst view, the way I say it, of the Indian market and the ecosystem. When someone outside looks at India as a market and the scope for education or edtech as an industry, you see a story which is unique in the entire world. Nowhere in the world you have got 260 million school-going students. And digest that number, 260 school-going students. Nowhere in the world, no, that I wouldn't say nowhere in the world, but the number in higher education is also extremely impressive. 36 million students in college, 84 million working professionals. If I just take the number of people on LinkedIn who can be given higher education, that number crosses 100 million today. Isn't it an impressive market? It's an extremely impressive market. And that is why when there is cheap money available, this industry gets money. If you have a good idea, you are a great founder, you have that rigor to do it, build it big, you get money. But frankly, and this is my view, right? What did these companies do? The price point operated has always been very high. So if I look at the price point of K-12, which was going on, right? Which is like 1 year packages are available at 25,000 rupees. Now you take the cut of students who pay 25,000 rupees fee for school education in India. That number comes to less than 5 million students. See the difference. And nowhere in the large markets there is so much of disparity. Take working professional, take people who are earning more than 5 lakh rupees, because today in working professional space, it's hard to find a good D product which is less than 1 lakh rupees. Good D product which will give you certificate, which will give you outcomes, so on and so forth. And typically a person who wants to afford it is in a salary in India 5 lakh rupees. You suddenly take, that's 15 million individuals. And typically, I'm not against government servants, but typically government servants don't invest, is what I have seen in upskilling. So if you remove that 5 million, we are talking about 10 million. See how the market came down? And this is what, in my view, really happened. All the all the companies which were invested had huge growth targets. I mean, you can't blame anyone. That is how it is. It's a large market. You've taken money. You need to grow fast. In the process of growing fast, you know that there is one cream of people who can be sold again and again to. So the strategy always has been about creating products which are at higher ARPU so that you can get to the higher revenue quickly. And that's where you ended up shrinking the market. Now I want to talk a bit about the UPGRAD journey, because one of the things which we did right was we did a few things right which helped us stay away from these problems the edtech industry as a whole is facing now. Number one, UPGRAD did not create a product which was sold before the product was made. like a typical company today. It took the founders 5 years to really build and perfect the product. Hence, the growth of the product from 2015 to 2020 was really, really slow. They started with an objective that this is the problem I want to fix. And what is the problem they picked up? They said that for a country like India, the gross enrollment ratio we are sitting today is very, very less. We are at around 29%. Gross enrollment ratio means number of students who can go to university but end up going to university. So only 29% of the Indian population who can go into university today goes into university. And they said that this problem is because of 3 reasons: access, affordability, and quality of education. One, I don't have good universities around me. Second, I can't pay for it. And third, even if I can pay for it, I don't think it's worth it. So their solution was that I will create a university model online and then solve this problem. So it started with that, and then they took a really 5-year time to build it out. They said that till I build a product where I can see 80% completion rate and 80% outcome done, I won't market it out. Now, why is this 80% completion important? Because at that time, the MOOC platforms which existed only had 2% completion rate. Even today, the MOOC completions are less than 3%. Now you're building a platform saying that I'll take it 80%. That helped because when we went to a GTM, all this good feedback we had and outcome we had helped us scale really fast. It took us 5 years to take to 150 revenue, but in the next 2 years, we went to 1,000 crores. Of course, we rode on the COVID and the induced things, but always it was the focus. It was the outcome focus which we had, which helped us take there. So all I'm trying to say is when you are building products in education, always keep customer as the center of it. Because I don't believe that you can build companies in edtech just by throwing in a lot of money. These companies are built only if you're able to give outcomes to the customers. Over a period of time, what we tried to do was we tried to get into all the domains which our customer is interested in and build in a lot of brands which will make it interesting for them to come to us. Today we have a full platform starting from bachelor's to doctorate, done completely online. We also moved hybrid when we saw that the customers is asking for it. But this is not the focus. Sorry. Yeah. So in future, that's what the interesting thing is, right? For all the entrepreneurs and the investors here. What do I see? These are the trends which I do see. EdTech, or in fact, most of the startups in India, the focus has been always about acquisition and acquisition. All our majority of the time used to go in thinking through how do I acquire customers at the cheapest possible way. Today, that is changing. Today, the focus is moving towards delivery. And why is it so? Because thanks to the COVID days, so many people were online. The digital marketing companies got used to so much of profits that they, in the second year of COVID, started jacking up the prices. So today you have a Facebook ad and Google ad at a price point which is not sustainable for a startup to run their campaigns on. Hence, the conversation is now back to how do I build my organic? How do I get a referral channel on? How do I have more and more customers coming back to me in repeat? And these are product questions to be solved. If I don't have 60% of my revenue coming through this channel, then I don't have a sustainable product. And that's where the conversation is moving to. Second, very interesting. So online, the good part about online education is that online education is measurable. When things are measurable, you kind of expose the age-old problems which existed always. So online education, which Indian universities are now picking up in a big manner, is exposing the fact that majority of the students in the classroom were never engaged at all. In a simple word, this is what comes out, right? Distance learning literally starts from the second row of the classroom. That's what the fact is. And this is getting exposed today. So more and more people are talking about active learning. How do I engage every person in the room? How do I make it more personalized? How do I gamify the entire thing? And this is where the next generation of edtech startups will go, and that's my prediction. Hybrid is another interesting thing which has come out. Again, an outcome of COVID ending. People wanted to do offline. Everyone is trying to bring in hybrid into their delivery. Whether it's required or not, we don't know, but everyone is trying to push it in there, saying that, oh, this is hybrid now, come and learn with me. Regulators have been very active, at least in the higher education space. We have got a new policy called as the New Education Policy, and believe me, this is a remarkable document, a path-breaking policy, and there is nowhere in the world a government has come out with this policy, a policy similar to it. If implemented well, this will change the education landscape of our country. I'm seeing good direction in there, and very important insight which is coming out is this, in general, shrinking of the time an individual have got to learn from their home. See, we Indians were always used, at least in the kid stage, to studying from home. It was culturally part of us, right? The parents will always say, go and study, go and study, go and study. So everything we have built, in K-12 space at least, was about learning from home. Today, that is changing. Today, parents and today's kids believe in finishing their education while in school. They don't have a lot of time to study at home. The same is true with upskilling also. More and more companies are giving time within the office time to upskill. They don't expect them to go back home and use their personal time for it. And this changes the entire dynamics of the ecosystem. All right, so this is the last 2 slides and my prediction on what we'll take. But yeah, feel free to, and the reason why I'm making these statements is that I know that there are people here who are interested in edtech. These are all ideas I'm throwing at you. Don't lose your heart because of what is happening around you. There is a lot to be done. So my prediction is that K-12 will move towards more about education through doing, interacting, and collaborating. What I call as EdTech 1.0, which is what Byju's wrote, was more about moving from learning through listening to visual learning. That improved few things, but it did not improve enough. What is really required, or what we realized, is that it is learning through doing, collaborating, and interacting that will really help learning. And which is what learning games-based edtech is all about. So what I see in the next generation of edtech companies is building platforms which will really help students learn through these games. And I think socio-culturally, this is very important. I showed you a number, 250 million students, school-going students, and 100 million working professionals. Together, it's around 350 million people. Do you know what is the size of the gaming market in India? There are 500 million plus gamers in India. 500 million plus, which means that more people are spending their time playing games than going and learning. That's a choice. And I don't think personally that's good for a young economy like this, which is why I feel that good developers and good entrepreneurs should think about how do you use this infatuation towards gaming in making learning possible. So that's the direction I think K-12 will take. In higher ed, there is so much happening. I think currently with the help of NEP, universities are talking about becoming edtech themselves. One perfect example is IIT Madras. IIT Madras in 2020 launched their first online degree program, a BSc Computer Science. They did one tweet. That tweet gave them 10,000 applications. Imagine, one tweet. I mean, that's an overrating. There was a PR, but yeah, that one tweet is where so much of things came in. They enrolled 8,154 students. I had a discussion with IIT Madras director at that time. They said that this brand is big, I don't need you to sell it. I said, yes, I'm not telling you about selling it. But point is, you should know that there is a lot of things which is different in edtech delivery, which doesn't happen in a normal classroom. He said, it's fine. Let me try it out once. 3 years later, the first batch of BSc Computer Science passed out. Out of 8,154 people admitted, nearly 250 people passed out. And why is it so? Because online education is not about self-motivation. I mean, self-motivation doesn't come automatically in education. Education requires a teacher to push it. And that's what I believe an edtech company can really value add into. You build platforms which will push the students to have that motivation to learn. You engage it, you gamify it, you have service component, buddies in it who will push these people. The reason why UPGRAD has got 87% completion rate today within the ambit of a course today is not because we just have we just have a video learning platform today. That's not the thing. There's so much more that goes into it, which I feel is the place where edtech will collaborate with the university system in India tomorrow. Universities will continue to be the degree granting authority, the people who really take classes, but that's not alone. There's so much more which goes into education. There are so many other things coming in. India is talking about building a national credit bank, dual degrees, joint degrees, everything is approved today. We are not going to, the next generation is not going to do higher education like the way we did. They are going to be completely different, and they are going to be focused on one thing, skills, which will take me up in my career. So there is, in my view, there is at least an opportunity for 100 new startups in the higher education space, because this is the place where India really needs very, very innovative organizations. I'm not going to talk more about lifelong learning. That's something you are all aware of. I'm seeing a large trend going towards B2B2C. That means that the companies are no longer doing their program. They are telling the employees that you select the program and I'll pay for it. That's a very interesting trend which is changing the ecosystem itself. And finally, thanks to all the policies and focus on manufacturing and infrastructure, I can see a resurgence in core engineering. What I see is engineering streams like civil, mechanical, electrical, metallurgy, industry engineering, all these are going to have a lot more job opportunities, well-paying job opportunities, which will stop this movement of students who are done civil engineering to an IT job in Infosys or Wipro. Again, the curriculum is outdated, and you need edtech companies to bridge that gap. Yep, so that's all it is. Thank you so much for the time. Any questions, I can take it. Yeah.
I'm really afraid that we are running short of time, so you will have to take this off stage, offline.
Yeah, we can do that then.
But